going, but you know. Okay.
I got a notification on Facebook.
Oh, did you?
You're live. Yeah, and I just got a YouTube one too.
Oh, really? On mine? Sweet. So live stream,
Yeah,
YouTube.
on both of your accounts.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome. Now I'm just going to
up.
find where it is. Oh, that's so funny. Live streaming YouTube. Allow. Start streaming. Allow mic. Okay, I did that. Yeah, it's showing. Webcam stream. Stream. Is that the one? Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Connecting streaming software to go live. Stream setup. Should... See, okay, so that must be my chat there. Let's see what Facebook is saying. This is the first time I've ever done this, so waiting for live video. So what else do I need to do? Live dashboard. Okay, this one's thinking maybe it's gonna do it. Streaming monitor. All right, now it's showing me, but I want it to show both of us. I've got it on that. Okay, so that shows, now it does show live on custom service. When you go to Facebook, does it show us right now? Okay, okay, so there's 4 people watching us on Facebook and 1 on YouTube. I'm learning this. It's just trying to figure out how to see it. View event. Okay, there we go.
There you are. I see you. You're powered by Restream.
Oh, yay. Okay,
yep.
So
it's there. You're there.
Yay. Okay,
you
good.
Got it.
So it shows on there. I'm gonna mute my Facebook because it's kind of offset. Perfect. Awesome. Well, it looks like we're going. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and record the Zoom just to make sure we've got a backup. And excuse me, sorry, hit record. And we'll get started. So this is Amária Sweet with HeartMind Expressions, and I've got Alex Spielman with me. And so Alex,
howdy.
Here we go. This is our first live with YouTube and Zoom and Facebook.
Congratulations.
Here we go. Right?
Unfortunately, I forgot my celebratory champagne, so I won't be smashing it into anything to christen it.
Oh, shoot. Well, hopefully we get this right, because I don't see anything on the Facebook, or excuse me, not the Facebook, but the YouTube live. So I guess I'll just toggle between and see what people are doing. Hey, Richard, Lauren, Chris. So I'm kind of new to this live thing. Usually on Global Enlightenment Network, Daryl's doing it for us. And so I'm being the moderator and the, the host. So this should be interesting. All right, so I guess we can just start. And now you were, I know you were joking earlier about exorcism, but
actually, no, I was actually being semi-serious.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. So what were you wanting to discuss on the exorcism stuff?
Well, I mean, so I wasn't talking about a physical, like strapping a person to a chair, throwing a cross at a person's head, and saying the power of Christ compels you. Not like that. I'm saying that in an aspect. I'm saying that in a national or an international, or what do you want to do, like an exorcism, like we're removing like bad spirits, bad juju, whatever you want to call it, away from it. And that's
right.
What we're seeing, you know. And I mean, I think the best movie is The Exorcist. I mean, why not? You know, and all of a sudden, you know, you have this person in a chair, and they're all of a sudden you sound like you have these like growls that sound like from the the depths of hell, and they sound very they act very uncharacteristic of themselves.
Right.
And what was happened the last few days is that almost that change of personality, that like snap, like all of a sudden that bad nasty spirit has come up to the surface, and it's scaring a lot of people, which it is intentionally meant to do. It's supposed to scare people, but that's a good thing because now we can actually deal with the problem.
True. It's nice we're actually seeing things coming actually into the public eye, which a lot of people are starting to go, wait, what is actually going on? Because now we're seeing all this weird stuff. Like the other day, with the confusion with that, the Hollywood shaman. Oh my God, that was, yeah. Anyway, saying, oh, Q is going crazy, and now it's all these, what's it, Antifa is Q, and wow, no.
Nope. Oh, I'm sorry. That is not correct.
Yeah, it's sad. Well, and then people being able to get into the White House like that. I mean,
Capitol.
That's obviously
Capitol
something is being aided.
It was the Capitol building, not the White House.
Or the Capitol, excuse me. I don't know why I was thinking the White House, but yeah, the Capitol building, excuse me.
Because they tried to storm the White House. That didn't go very well, so they had to storm the Capitol, which, by the way, you would think they would have far more security stationed there on a day like that.
Right.
It's almost as if they were let in. And guess what? There is people who were in DC with their cameras out that saw just that. Wouldn't you know it? Wow. I'm sorry, sarcasm came out.
No, it makes sense because, like, even just here in Idaho, if I want to go to a federal building of any kind, I have to have, now we have to have our star card, our real ID, and you can't get in without it. And so, I mean, they scan you, they've got the metal detectors, and I know they're going to do that at a federal level. They're going to be even more strict. So if I were to go to Boise and do it, I'm sure it'd even be stronger than here in Pocatello. So at the Capitol, and they can't even scan people properly. I mean, what the crap's going on? What are they trying to prove or not prove? So.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, of all days to have things happen, we're talking about the day where the Electoral College votes are being tabulated. Right. We have both the Speaker of the House and the Vice President and every member of Congress, both houses, there in those buildings. And you're saying that a small group of people, of maybe a handful, a few hundred people, were able to bust through the doors, get through Capitol Police, through the Secret Service. I'm thinking you're going to have better odds of going after Area 51.
Right. That was actually easy because I did Area 51 in 2019. Let's see. So Chris is asking, how do you scan a terrorist?
Oh, that's actually kind of funny that Chris mentioned that because right. Matt Gaetz actually, when Congress was reconvened after being on recess, they said that so the Capitol actually has facial scanners in the buildings themselves, and I'm going to quote him directly. So the social media juggernauts out there are not going to go after us when I say this. But what he said was that the facial scanners picked up that those people who were wearing the articles of clothing, the hats and the flags and everything like that, they were Antifa.
Does not surprise me at all. Not at all.
And I mean, when you consider that once you get past the first group of people, they were in black bloc. So,
right.
but
Well, I'm sure that they
there's
just let them in
here.
regardless of IDs or anything. I mean, God, the amount of treason that's
Yes.
going on, that's being proven by their own actions.
But,
keep on doing it, guys. You're just showing how dumb you are.
But it gets better, though. It gets even better. It gets like this. Antifa was tricked. They were tricked the whole time. They knew they were going to do that. They knew it. So guess what they did? They started so Antifa has been embedded with operators within the armed forces and other agencies for a while now. So what they do? Well, this is a good time for a clandestine op.
True.
They put in their disguises, and what if we just found out just recently Nancy Pelosi's laptop is missing? I wonder where it went.
Right? Be nice to know.
And here's the funny thing: when you open the laptop, it was actually in an email.
Really? So do tell. I'd like to know, what is it that this email is talking about?
You know what? The funny thing is that I don't know. All I know is that the email was open. They never disclosed that.
That's interesting.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was some CCP interactions or some other NGOs that I'm not allowed to talk about because, well, they bankroll these people, so I can't talk about them.
Right.
So, but I think you guys would probably understand what I'm talking about when I'm saying that. So I'm not going to. I don't think I need to go any further. But yeah. So with all that's considered done, and I know this has been my kind of like my pull string doll moment when I keep on saying this. But remember how we kept on saying how we had to let the thief leave the building or shoplifter leave the store?
Right.
Guess what? They've left the store,
which is awesome.
And now we're on that 100. Now we're on that 100-meter race. Now we're going to give you a little head start. But everything was photographed. It was on C-SPAN for everybody to watch.
That's awesome.
Everybody saw it. And so, yes, there. And everyone's like, "Oh no, he lost the electoral college vote. Oh no." Here's the funny thing: he hasn't lost anything. Constitutionally speaking, he is legitimate still. President Trump is still the legitimate president and was duly elected. Joe Biden has not been duly elected.
Right. Well, there was a video.
Is because
I'm trying to remember the lady that was doing the video. She was talking about, I think it was China, that there was a guy working with the Dominion machine. And he basically is admitting, yes, I'm one of the ones that was doing the vote switches. And I don't feel good about this. I realize this is a whole scam. I'm turning myself in. This guy is a hero because he's risking his life to come out with this information. But the lady was in the Capitol, I believe, and it's like, hey, Trump, this is what's going on, yada yada. He does a quick about face, like, whoa, wait, come here, talk to me. So, did you see that video?
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think?
I did, yeah. I think things are finally coming out.
Yeah.
I think things are finally, and that was exactly what the president said in his meeting, his one video just the other day. It was like his last video before he got banned off of Twitter, actually off of everything. He was talking about how they use all legal means to do so, and all of a sudden the media kind of like, slaps you on your chest, like, wait a minute, did he just concede? He must have just conceded. I'm like, he didn't concede whatsoever. He just said he used all legal means possible.
Right.
And he also talked about a transfer of power, but he never mentioned the incoming administration. He never used that phrase, incoming administration. Now, that goes back to what he said during his inauguration speech back in 2016, which is that he was going to transfer the power to the people. That's that transfer of power again. We're transferring it to the people.
Right.
And that's what triggered that's what caused the evil demon spirit, in that exorcism I was talking about before. That's what came out. They're like, no, you're not taking that away. You're not taking that away. How dare you try taking that away? They're like, yeah, we're taking that back. It was never yours in the first place.
Exactly.
You lied, you stole, you killed. You never earned it. But that's exactly what's happening. I get choked up just how excited I am. I know everyone. I know. I've seen so many like posts all over the place that are like, "This is the end of democracy. This is all. It's over." And I'm like, have you ever heard of precipice? That's where we're at. We're at that precipice.
Oh, the precipice. Okay.
I'm excited.
That is really
the
exciting.
Precipice.
That we're getting back what's been stolen from us almost from the beginning of our creation.
They actually, it was stolen from us at the very, very, very beginning. The Treaty of Paris that was signed gave away a whole bunch of American sovereignty back to the crown in the very, very beginning. That's why we have always had that very close tie with the crown, even though we shouldn't have. You would think you would think they'd be like mortal enemies with us because we beat them in a war,
right?
But but then they just became friends after 1812. After the 1812,
right? They're friends, right?
I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, we just burned down your White House, or sorry, we just controlled your post office. You can't actually do anything now because you actually can't do shipping. But that's what happened. That's why there is so much effort to keep NATO around, and that's why there's so much effort to keep all these other, globalist groups around. It's because it keeps all these nations from not being sovereign or fully sovereign. I mean, they can be sovereign, but they're not fully sovereign.
It's the illusion.
Control
of
is
such,
definitely,
sure.
yeah. Control is the name of the game. Hi everyone.
It's nice to have you back, Sue.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Sue.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Good. Have you been, girl?
I've been doing well. I have been. It's been a lot of things going on, and so a lot of stuff that's been happening, and on both sides, yeah, a lot of people have been having stuff happen on a spiritual, side of the line, and a lot of things that are happening on a political side of the line, and then a lot of people also juggling family at the same time. Right. So there's a lot of stuff going on. One of the things though that we're talking about, and it's a really good topic, and control is one of the things that the bad guys wanted. They wanted to control for so long, and every once in a while they'll give a little inch or two, but to give people the illusion that there's love behind all of this, there's care behind all of this, but there never was. I mean, they'll throw you a bone once in a while, but they all wanted control. And because when you can, something that you can control, you can have power over, you can decide how things go, whether left or right, up or down, it doesn't matter. And so, it's just that the thing that they don't realize is the tighter you grip onto something, the more it's going to slip through your fingers. And I think they're finally seeing that.
Right. Well, and also
That too.
when you control something and beat something down enough, you back a dog into a corner and it's going to bite. And that's where we're
Yeah.
at now. We're tired of being oppressed. We're tired of being forced to do things that are against our sovereign right. So yeah, we're biting back right now and hard.
Yeah,
Like,
unfortunately, there's still a bunch of people out there that doesn't realize that, that they're still being controlled and manipulated.
Right.
They still think that whoever's in charge is caring, about the people. And so, and we're talking about behind all kinds of three-letter organizations or, anything that has to do in the medical realm, and it's not, because it's owned by a country that never cared about us to begin with. They never really cared about the world except their own power and their own selves. I mean, they didn't just do this to the United States, they did this all over the world.
Keep the slaves in
Yeah,
control,
definitely.
or keep control of the slaves and keep them dumbed down. And I like the metaphor of the frog in the pot of water. As you slowly bring the water to a boil, people get complacent and comfortable, and this water starts to get warm and it feels nice. I'm getting all these perks and these benefits and the government's helping me, instead of teaching people how to become self-sufficient and how to be their own sovereign being, just like Thomas Jefferson talked about so much, how we need to understand how to use the law. And if you can't understand how to use the law, then basically he said you don't have a right to be free. And so that's what these Illuminati have been doing, derp state, on controlling people and making us slowly boil in that pot until it's just too hot all of a sudden. And now we're boiling. And a lot of us were able to see those signs before that boiling pot started. So we were able to jump out. And a lot of people, unfortunately, now are committing treason, and they're in that boiling water. They're getting their butts boiled, unfortunately. Sucks.
Yeah.
You talked about Thomas. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And unfortunately, a lot of people also have, we're talking about the general population, have tried to bite back, and the controls have done everything they can to make it not worth your while to fight for your freedom. There's a lot of people that has challenged the law throughout history, and they can, they will do everything they can to put you back in your place, even at the price of your own family. Yep. Unfortunately, they're very good at doing that, and they have done it to so many people. And so that's what, that's the term, I'm going to make an example out of you, and they've done it to so many people, so many families, so many lives. And, those who are awake enough that understand that, that you haven't been free and that you have the right to be free, needs to wake up and realize you need to fight for that freedom.
Patrick, hi, how are you doing? He's actually got a comment here. Ever heard the explanation on how to catch wild pigs? Leave them food and build one side of a fence around the food every day. So when they come back, they get used to there just being a little bit of a fence there until the last time the hunter just closes the gate in a pen and the pigs cannot escape. That's a really awesome metaphor.
Nice. Yeah,
that's an amazing metaphor. I love what Patrick comes up with. He's really awesome with that.
Yeah. There was
a lot of people prefer to know that they're going to get their meal the next day. They get comfortable. And a survey has been done of those who they've been asked of whether they would be okay being in a cage and know where their next meal is, or would they rather be free and have to figure things out for themselves and have their sovereignty. Unfortunately, a lot of people have said that they'd rather be in a cage, knowing when their next meal is going to be, knowing that they have somebody who's going to take care of them. And that's unfortunate,
I just wanted to, you were mentioning Thomas Jefferson, and a quote came to mind that was actually interesting. And the quote had to do with an argument that he had with Alexander Hamilton. And there's a reason why they were trying to idolize Alexander Hamilton, just because he was a huge supporter of the central bank system. You know, I mean, I've never seen a Broadway play for Thomas Jefferson, but I've definitely seen one for Hamilton. Anyways, the argument that they had was that so Jefferson was against central banking and Hamilton was for it. And Jefferson's argument against it was if you have a central bank basically controlling things by inflation and then by deflation, you're going to enslave the people in the country that their forefathers fought for their freedom.
Unfortunately, yes.
Well, that's exactly.
Well, and Chris Neiman asks Patrick, "Are you calling U.S. citizens dumb pigs?" So it's not that
No.
he's calling U.S. citizens dumb pigs. Think of it this way: you can dumb people down with your food, your medicine, your water, and they've done it with the media through Monarch programming and MK Ultra. And you put enough fluoride into the system, just like the certain group of Germans did during the, World War II. I'm not going to go into the NAZI words, spell it out. But they used fluoride. What's that?
I said Germans of a particular political leaning.
Right, the particular political leaning. Well, fluoride has been actually proven to calcify your pineal gland. So it does actually dumb a person down to where they have a hard time understanding specific things. And I can attest to that. Yes, it does, because I have been dumbed down. I have decalcified my pineal gland, and you actually start feeling different because it starts, when you start getting dumbed down, it's kind of a process that feels like almost like dementia. You start getting these pockets or these, like maybe you go into a room and you forget what you're doing because there's deficiencies that happen in the brain and you're not able to use your full faculties. So in a way, yes, you're dumbed down. But, and yeah, actually, Patrick, you're correct. It's fluoride is the main ingredient in Prozac. It's actually main ingredient in a lot of medications.
Antipsychotics.
Right,
They're very common.
It's everywhere. And they fool all of us by thinking that it's great for our teeth. It's not. The best way to actually keep your teeth intact is to have a clean diet.
Clean diet, especially with your minerals, because a lot of times we get the demineralization.
Yeah, and they've proven that the people who live in parts of the country where they don't have the modern lifestyle, they just live off the land completely. We're talking about jungle situation or whatever, and their teeth are perfectly healthy. They don't have a dentist or anything, and so
they've proven that causes fluorosis.
Yeah, yes, it causes your teeth to actually what? It's the opposite, and that's the thing. When you have the fluoride and you're told that it's there to keep your teeth well, and then your teeth is not well, the dentist is just like, oh well, it could be other things or whatever. And of course, you have to have your teeth done and everything like that. Somehow, a lot of people don't put two and two together that it could be something else rather than just age or whatever else they think of. They don't think that it's fluoride that's doing it. They have to use, the people that handle fluoride has to use a special container to store it.
Right.
They have to wear special gear to deal with it, And so if you have to do all that, then how is this healthy? How is this good for you? So those are some things to think about. And you can look all this stuff up.
Well, and continuing on with the fluorosis part with what you're talking about, like osteoporosis, the teeth issues. There was an article I read a few years ago about a farmer that had a bunch of horses that they were, they used city water and they were drinking the city water. And when it would rain, they noticed that their horses would go drink the puddles of rainwater instead of the city water. And they were having a problem with some of their horses. One of them I think it had broken one of their legs. And they had to put the animal down and they wanted to do an autopsy on these horses. And they were finding that they had that fluorosis or demineralization in the bones. It was just like osteoporosis everywhere. So they tested the water and there was actually such a high concentration of fluoride that the doctor was like, don't use this water for your animals. It's killing them. And Richard says big pharma and the media go hand in hand. And yes, it does to promote the bad as well as the good for you. So absolutely.
Yeah. They have actually lied in all sorts of areas, including what foods are actually good for you. There's actually a
That's
bunch of
Codex
foods out there.
Alimentarius.
Yeah, a lot of the foods are out there in the world are actually not good for you. And unfortunately, we weren't taught much about lagoons, nightshades. If you look up the types of vegetables that are in those categories, they actually destroy your stomach. When your stomach is destroyed, then you gain weight and you can have all sorts of other problems too. So they don't teach you how to take care of your gut. There's just a lot of lying going around of what is good for you and what is not good for you. So back to, the dumb down and the smartness though. What they want you to do is to make you tired and exhausted, because then you won't fight them. You won't sit there and think for yourself. And it's a lot easier to deal with people that are exhausted, that are tired, and dumbed down. And that way, and then the media will say whatever they need to say, and you will just think that there's a loving intention behind it, and you will listen and you will obey. So it's like a spell.
Right.
So it's not really so much as trying to insult the intelligence of a person, but rather than to acknowledge the symptoms of what's been put in front of us that has caused this.
Right. Well, and Chris was talking about capitalism. So the difference between capitalism and the corporate bureaucracies that have been going on with the deep state is totally different. Capitalism, if you're actually doing your sovereignty, you come over, you become like people that want to come and live the American dream. Basically, you're becoming a sovereign U.S. national, not U.S. citizen. But unfortunately, because we have the straw man with our, the Uniform Commercial Code, which we talked about the other day with the UCC, and, basically taking our freedoms and making us into a corporate entity. So capitalism itself, if you do it properly, that would be like your mom and pop businesses. You can open up your own home front. You can sell from your home. You can own your own business. That's the American dream. It's the big corporations that want the total takeover of our freedoms and to destroy us as basically slaves. That's where it's come from. And that's what Trump and the Alliance and, the other groups that have been coming in have been trying to change out, and that have been doing actually successfully. A lot of people don't realize it's been a very successful campaign, or not really campaign, but very successful military operation that started I guess it was around JFK assassination. Isn't that when a lot of this started to really get rolling forward?
A lot of it did get rolled over. It started on that fateful day in Texas. And if you noticed, the gravestone of JFK, the location where JFK is buried, looks like a particular letter of the alphabet.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
And his son, John Jr., is very close. Was very, very close to POTUS, and may still be close to him. I'm not saying anything more than that, but if I could also hit on the capitalism aspect of it, capitalism is perfectly fine. What we're looking at is something called crony capitalism, also known as corporatism. And the difference between regular capitalism and as you were saying, Amária, it's mom and pop shops, it's your local town butcher, everybody kind of working together to benefit the community. Corporatism and crony capitalism happens when you have a government and they pick winners and losers. And I think the best way to show a good example about that is with this COVID-19 health emergency, where, by the way, I'm not endorsing it as a health emergency. I'm just saying that that is what it's classified as.
Right.
But be as it may, irrelevant at this moment. They are literally picking winners and losers. You have governors have literally said you are considered an essential worker. The term essential worker is them literally pointing to winners and losers. It means the people who are considered. I know. I happen to be one of those essential workers, and I know a lot of you guys out there may be classified as one of them. It's the beginning of the what's that called? It's the beginning of them basically trying to degrade somebody and removing their individuality. It's the possibility. It's the way of them starting to remove individuality.
Well, and to actually add
they've
to
been
that
doing
really
that
quick,
for a long time.
Right.
Oh, I know.
Well, and I like what Richard Dubrick says here. He says agriculture, is just a money-making agenda to waste land, which, yes, they're farmers that are paid not to farm, making an agenda for more food waste, so we need to be buying local. Just like there's some different groups that are coming together. What can we do to make different co-ops in our local communities? How can we buy from farmers? Look around and see, what are people making? What are their local goods and services that you can find locally, rather than going, like Chris said, to Amazon or to one of those other companies. They're easy to do, yes. But if we really want to take our country back, we've got to go to the grassroots, and we've got to support our local businesses, our local farmers, our local co-ops, and go to them instead, because they're so much more willing to say, hey, I've got all this extra food. Let's sell it at the farmer's market, or let's, like, talk to your local grocer and say, what can we do to get some local farm food here? Get our local groceries here instead of going to some other state or to a Monsanto farm and getting their crap that's got, pesticides and herbicides and all the stuff that destroys your gut, which destroys your health.
And a lot of times farmers are even willing to give it to you at a much lower price than the grocery store is anyway, because you're cutting out that, that middleman is to put it, the grocery stores, they put their prices up for a certain reason. So you're better off going as local as possible anyway.
Right.
I think another thing
like,
is
Patrick says, not to mention the, what is it, SHTF, you don't want to hope your big chain store will be able to import from Chile. Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to be doing the imported stuff. We want to do local.
Yeah.
I think another thing that's important is eating seasonably.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have, say, strawberries in the middle of the winter.
Yeah.
Because they don't grow naturally at that point in time. That's why I think the best time to actually see what's seasonable is autumn, because there are key things that are grown at that time. You have gourds, which are very common, pumpkin and squash and zucchini are all very common autumn plants and vegetables. But then you'll have other things that will come out during the spring, and then other things that come out during the summer. And what the nice thing about that is that it allows farmers to actually grow to the seasons versus grow to demand.
Right.
Which means a lot less waste. It also means that they can focus on one particular type of crop, so they're not using all that pesticides and stuff like that. They can just use what's available, and usually it works a lot better because they don't have to worry about something that's going to deal with a sudden frost, because or a drought, or a super hot day, because the plants that they're growing are going to be designed for those particular climate at those particular times.
I like this also, what Richard's talking about, because I've done this as well, and it's actually really simple to do. He says that's why we used to grow our own and do canning and preservatives for the winter months. It's really not hard to do. It just takes a little planning. Grow your food, what you can. You can grow in containers. You could do a garden. And when you actually can, and you buy your, there's like the little ball book that you can buy that shows you, like, for altitude, for different types of foods, whether it's vegetables, fruits, acidic, non-acidic. If you're doing preserves, jams, jellies, you've got apples on trees, you got tons of fruit trees you could do. Fruit is amazing for your body. And in the wintertime, you're not going to get really the fresh fruit if you're bottling, but you're still getting your minerals and your essential vitamins through that, as long as you're using, clean sugars rather than like white processed sugar. Maybe use some honey. But like I said, it's actually really simple to do your canning and baking as well, right? I love fresh baked goods. And so just wherever you're going to get the other items that you need, like, you know, maybe you want to bake some breads and you want to get your flours, you don't want to have to grow the wheat or anything, you know, just go back to that. What's the most local that you can find, you know? And local for us, maybe in Idaho, might include like Idaho, Washington, Utah, Oregon. So you know what, you might have like a 4-state or tri-state or 5-state area that would be your local area, that you got your co-ops that are working together. And, you know, maybe it's going to include, if you're at the Canadian border, you might be including Canada a little bit, or if you're at the Mexican border, you might be including Mexico a little bit. And that's fine. These are our neighboring countries. We should be a family. We shouldn't be going, you know, let's keep the borders so bad that we can't get along. But, you know, borders are great for helping to keep, you know, like crime from crossing as much. That's why we need to have the wall and trafficking, but doing things legally and fairly. And that's true. Chris is saying preservatives are the real killers. That's why Americans are, you know, fat as fuck. It's not just that, preservatives, too many carbs, too many sugars, but also the gut health. If we're eating things that have pesticides and herbicides, what happens is it's going to kill the little beautiful little bugs and the bacteria that are in our gut, and it's going to overgrow candida. And that candida overgrowth gets into our system, and it actually causes cancer. That's some of the stuff that Dr. Bergman talks about in the journals that he's read through the CDC, the FDA, JAMA, which is the Journal of American Medical Association, the AMA of the American Medical Association. Basically, people are turning into a fungus because they have so much candida in their systems. But when we can turn around our digestive system, then instead of inhibiting the COX-1 inhibiting proteoglycan, which is the building block for our sinew and our cartilage in our bodies, and inhibiting glycogen, which is the strongest antioxidant that our body produces, and that usually what inhibits that is killing those bacteria, killing the flora, killing the gut itself, poking little holes in it with leaky gut, which is what he talks about, but also non-steroidal anti-inflammatories like Tylenol, ibuprofen, aspirin, Aleve. All of those drugs actually inhibit those things as well and cause more problems. And there's so many alternatives naturally that we can do. If you look at, you might have a local naturopath or a DC, a doctor of chiropractic, and they study these things. And you can learn so much on how to heal and regenerate the body through nutrition, which again goes back to what Dr. Bergman teaches. And he has hundreds of videos that show just how to do that. And so really great answers here, guys. Thank you so much for your participation.
Yeah, definitely.
So moving forward, Alex, do you have anything that you were wanting to do on any updates or anything that comes to mind that you're wanting to talk about?
Well, one thing I did want to mention is I was updating you guys on recall stuff the other day.
Right.
Recall is finally live. We're finally taking signatures for it.
Oh, good.
It's a little. It's going to be, we have our work cut out for us. It's going to be a very uphill battle, but I do believe that people are just sick and tired of things, and they want to have some sense of normality again, whatever that might have been. But it's probably far better than what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
And so, and the best part is, once again, it's all digital. You do not need to go anywhere particular. You don't need to be in person. You can do this in your PJs if you want to. You just go onto the website that we have and this is for reference for people, this is for all registered voters in the state of New Jersey. And the website for it is www.recall, RECALL gov GOV Murphy MURPHY.com. And it will give you to it. It'll go to the page. It'll go to the page. You scroll down about halfway, and there's going to be a box. And what you do is you enter name, email, and I think zip code, and it will take you to a form. And of course, you have to confirm that you have been a voter. You're a registered voter. And then all you do is fill out the form, which is once again a name, address, zip code, city, and then you complete the form, you print it, and then you can send it. And then what happens is that you can get a copy of the form that you just signed. And congratulations, you have just signed the first ever recall that was ever done fully digital.
That's so awesome.
And I'm hopeful that this is actually how we're going to see. This is, I think, and this is not me speaking recall. This is me speaking as just a regular person. I think that we're seeing a sneak peek at how this new structure is going to look. This is, I think, the beginning of that sneak peek of how government's going to operate, how society is going to operate. They're going to be able to go onto your phone or whatever device you may have in the future and say, oh, this is what they're doing. No, I do not agree with this. And then it'll tell you, okay, we'll send it to them, to what they're doing. Because let's be honest, if you ever contacted an elected official, they usually have their voicemail full, or their email is full, or some other thing is full, and you can't get a contact. And then sometimes you get a secretary who will just say, oh, I'll bring it over, but you never get a response, and then I'll hang up on you. But this is like this is how you do a direct. What was that too? I missed that.
Yeah.
But I think this is a way that you do. This is much more direct. This is much. It's as you were saying before when it came to foods. This cuts out the middleman completely.
Right.
Gets rid of that middleman. You know, it goes right to the office. And I would love to see this. And I love. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just actually saying the same thing. I would love to see this go nationwide.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing. They brought it upon themselves, this whole thing that we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Because as most people who deal with this particular type of paperwork and this procedure, usually you have to be in person. Usually it has to be notarized. Usually you have to have someone actually witnessing you doing, usually that's notary. And it's just usually just a very frustrating situation.
Well, that's one of their favorite games. They love trying to get us to jump through a load of hoops. That's their favorite game. It's entertainment for them.
This is
getting people to jump through hoops just to, try to get where you need to go or get, what you want to accomplish and what you want done. They do it all the time. And if people out there, know it's like to fill paperwork for medical reasons or fill paperwork for funding reasons, all of it, especially have to do with the government. Tons of hoop jumping, tons of red tape to go through. Yeah, right. It can get pretty annoying real quick.
Well, and accompanying that with the problem that we have with our health and being tired, like you were talking about earlier, Sue, because we're being drained by foods that are poisoned and having our pineal gland and our bodies decalcified and, with the fluoride and everything else. Boy, they're just sitting back there going, look what we're doing. We're killing them. Thank God we're waking up and we're taking our bodies and our health and our minds back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what they do. They're hoping to get you to give up. And that's why if they frustrate you enough, if anybody can relate to the times that you have to make these phone calls, press 1, press 2, press 3, send you back to the beginning and stuff like that. And they make it impossible to get a hold of somebody or whatever. A constant amount of frustration that when you try to get something done, they have piles of paperwork they want you to do. And then on top of that, then they want you to provide your medical background. I want you to provide how much medicine you're taking. They have a list of things that they want you to do in order to get where you feel that you need to go or get what you want to get. And then they end up denying you in the end after all of that, you know? And then, so what's the first thing a person's going to feel? Frustrated, exasperated, and nah, forget it. And that's exactly the response that they're looking for.
You ever notice all the fees they charge too? Like you want to go put your papers to process anything that's quote unquote legal. What the hell? You know, I mean, if we want to get something done and they're forcing us to pay for it too, that's our right to be able to do things. We should be able to have the right to go say, I don't like what you're doing. And this is why. And here's the papers that we're going to put forward to say stop. And then we need to change this. That'll be $300, you know, whatever dollars or however they go. That's bullshit.
Yeah, and I know the recall right now. So I am not ashamed to say this. I was the man who submitted the paperwork that actually started this, but I also had help from people who understood how these codes work and how the procedure works. So I can't take all that credit. That credit goes to everybody who helped me get this ball rolling. I was just the man who pressed send on the email.
But teamwork is the best work. I mean, when you have a mastermind that comes together, you know, more minds are greater than just one. And so that's awesome that you have that team. I'm so proud of you, Alex, not only for using what genius and what mentality that you have, but having the humility to create a team. That's what a leader does. And you're an amazing leader. And thank you so much for doing that and setting that standard.
No, you know what? It was a collective effort. I can't take all the credit. But then you were talking about the legal fees and stuff like that. Well, when I finally got the paperwork approved, the director of elections, the director of the division of elections, he had a nice big stamp on the bottom of the paperwork, and it said, "This thing will cost you over $25 million if it gets approved." Now, there have been so many questions I was getting about it, like, "Oh, do we have to pay for it?" And there was one case where a school board, somebody did a recall on a school board, and they actually had to pay for it. But that's because they didn't file things appropriately. Because there's actually state code, which prohibits that from happening. State code clearly states that if it's being done through the state has to pay it through taxpayer funds.
Wow.
Which, you know what? That would be the best $25 million they've probably ever spent.
Yeah. You know, with the way that the education system has gone to pot, I agree. I mean, you know, we had Big Mike deciding to tell everybody how they should feed their children when, well, you can tell that he, she, it, whatever, does not know. I'm sorry, but feeding the crap, I've seen what is fed to kids at school. That is not food. I mean, other countries have these beautiful arrays of like salads and greens and wonderful
it's Japan.
vegetables.
The school in Japan is a heck of a lot better when it comes to their lunches. I've seen them. And it's not just what they're feeding at lunch, it's what they're feeding in their heads. It's also, you know, crap. I mean, it's indoctrination, it's lies and stuff like that. You know, it's all about control and things. My favorite types of classrooms were the ones where a lot of them was a ton of different field trips. I prefer those. You want sitting in the classroom and sit down and shut up and just listen.
I like,
you know, yeah.
My favorite type of classrooms were the ones without desks.
Yeah, right? And they outside with your bare feet in the ground. Those are my favorite classrooms.
Yeah. So anybody who wants to start a school that we teach crystals, healing, meditation, those are the type of schools that we need, you know.
Send me a proposition. I think we could probably figure something out.
I know, right?
I would actually love to use that education degree to good use for once. And yes, I actually have
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and yes, I actually do. I have an AA in education.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, you got that for a reason. So I think somewhere in your future, it's going to happen. We're manifesting it.
I don't think.
Well, in teaching children mindfulness and meditation and calming and soothing techniques, could you imagine how those kind of children growing up with that kind of education, instead of, go kick the bully and whatever, and just we'll work out the details later. You've got a bunch of angry little toddlers running around as adults that don't know how to do conflict resolution. And I've had to learn that too. A lot of us have, because of the damage that we've had to our brains, to our minds, to our systems by the brainwashing. And it even goes back to us in Generation X. I mean, they've been doing this a very, very long time.
And
then also
help people upbring their family. Yeah, it's that we've been taught a lot of things the wrong way.
Right.
Intentionally too. When you mention,
well, it's just like unknotting a kid's shoelace. If anybody knows how impossible and how long it takes, and how many of us, I feel like, you take a pair of scissors and just, cut the shoelace rather than untying it. But that's what they've been doing. Everything is just a mess, between the food, between the education, between our lives, between family structure, between anything, work structure. Everything is an absolute mess. And they had made that mess there, like I said, to make us exhausted. It's just there to just, try to get us to give up and just go with the flow, instead of think for yourself. And so instead of getting up and unknot everything, undo everything, and then have it done the way it needs to be done for you, rather than what they want you and how they want you to have it done.
Yep. It's like they want to teach you that everybody needs a savior. Everybody needs a go-between. When if we just learn how to do the system properly, we can go to the source ourselves. We don't need someone else to be a go-between. We need to understand how to use the law. We need to understand how to use our freedoms, our systems, our constitution, because that was put there to protect us. But if we don't even understand how it works, how are we going to use it? It's going to be used against us.
I'm guessing it's too late to mention how I never learned how to tie my shoes properly.
Well, when I come over, I'll help you.
No, I eventually learned how to do it. It's just not it's just not over the mountain and through the woods type of, the old song they used to teach you to tie your shoe. I learned how to tie it, just not the traditional way.
But you got it done, didn't you? You learned how to do it in your own way. And if we can
but that's another thing. They don't want us to learn these things. I mean, gosh, how many shoes are Velcro now?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously?
I liked Velcro. That
sometimes those are nice.
I guess it's fine when you're really, really young. I get it. That gives them the independence of putting their shoes on for them. But at a certain point, I think the shoes should be tied. I actually prefer it,
I don't know.
I can see where it could benefit in different ways. Maybe people might have coordination issues or a different handicap that maybe.
Absolutely. I see the benefits of it, but you should have a choice, though, on whether you want tie or not.
Right.
I mean, when I go to the store, it's all Velcro. What do you got?
Right.
That was always my thing. It was a dysgraphia fine motor issue. But I was, when I think about shoes, I'm like, why don't we ever have shoes that have zippers or buttons or we have so many different ways of dealing with jackets and
back
shirts.
In the old days, it was hooks,
right? Well, and I like how Patrick says here. He says self-sufficiency over authority, and really that's the key. Yeah. There's many roads to the same source. We should be able to have those options instead of somebody saying, nope, you're going to do it this way. We're going to micromanage the shit out of you. And if you don't do it right, we're going to throw you in jail, you motherfucker. And you're going to get fined. And what the? No, no.
Constant discipline, constant threat. If you can imagine how many threats, when you feel like you want to do something and you hear a threat in the back of your head, you might want to question that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Where's that coming from?
It's coming from a place of
I got you going there again.
And it goes back to the notion that there is no one size fits all system.
It's true. It's true.
One size doesn't fit all. Believe me, I'm the small one.
Aw. But you're mighty. We love our mighty Sue.
Mighty Sue.
Oh, thank you.
Super Sue.
Oh,
Super Sue. I love that. Super Sue.
Thank
It
you.
rhymes,
Thank
too.
you. But, you know, it's like, now I'm going to be a little funny about this, but it's, the one size fits all thing doesn't work when it comes to winter hats and gloves. I have the head size of an adult, hand size of a kid. So yeah, you either fit on the gloves or the hat. It doesn't work. But going back to the whole one size fits all system, that's what they constantly want you to feel, that, you know, everybody needs to go. If the leader goes to the left, you need to go to the left. If the leader goes to the right, you need to go to the right. And why can't you just choose whether to, you know, do what you want to do? You know, I mean, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
Exactly.
You
At
know,
the end of the day,
I
right?
think we should do whatever we want to do, as long as you know, everything is benevolent, everything's out of love, everything's, you know, out of goodness, everything's out of, you know, care or connection, if you will. I don't see what the problem is, you know, but because you can hear yourself, you know, I can't do this because of whatever XYZ rules that are floating around in your head. I can't do that because of whatever XYZ rules in your head. So you might want to ask yourself where that's coming from.
Right.
Yep.
Very well stated.
I would think that's also part of the neuro-linguistic programming.
Yep. So who is, you gotta ask yourself, who said that? You know, the old question is, who says that? Who told you can't do this? Who told you can't do that? Then the next question is, why?
And why aren't we thinking for ourselves? Because a lot of people
Yeah.
don't. And I've been in there too. Whenever you've been dumbed down enough and conditioned enough, and it may not even necessarily being dumbed down, but just the conditioning so much, you just get into those habits. We've got to break free from those habits, and we've got to be able to think for ourselves. It's so very important.
And it doesn't help when we're threatened not to.
Right.
I mean, look at all the people that have stood up for themselves, and when they do, they lose their job.
Yeah.
When they do, they lose their place in the world. And it's sad that it has come down to this. And I feel sorry for everybody. Yeah. And a lot of people are suffering from these consequences of, you know, thinking for themselves, and that's how they try to put people back in their place. Your place is not to be put back in your place. Your place is to be out of place.
It oh, what was I gonna say? Crap! I had this awesome thought in my head, and then just
well, and you know, Patrick actually makes a statement that's, it's really sad but true, because of the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, and just the way that the Agenda 21 land grabs have been. You know, he says, I can't go to a national forest and build myself a log cabin and farm in the woods. Yeah, there's a lot of lands that are being, you know, quote unquote protected, which I could see with certain areas. It's good to be able to have some conservation, but we have so much
we have
land
too
on
much.
this
We have too much that has been fenced off and says can't touch, can't go there, and all that. And then they talk about that we need to reduce population because there's too many people. All these,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, we're not. I will tell you guys, newsflash, we're not overpopulated. Sorry to tell you, I break it to you. We're not overpopulated. We're not there yet.
Right? We can actually create water in the desert. There's towers that actually pull the air in. You know what air is made out of is oxygen, right? So if you take hydrogen and oxygen and throw it together, you got water. So we got an abundance of these elements. And then the way that these technologies work, we can create water. You can build greenhouses or these biodomes and contain your food. So we can literally live anywhere on this planet and have plenty. So this false concept of overpopulation is bullshit. Yeah. Absolute bullshit. It's about control. It's total control.
Yeah. And I feel sad when people say, I don't want to have kids because we're creating harm to the planet, or, you know, really that's all just from agenda. We're meant to make babies. We're meant to reproduce. We're meant to grow. The generations are meant to flourish. We're meant to teach our next generation, you know, from our own experience, how things, you know, work. These are things that we were meant to do. It's been done since the beginning of our species. you know, and it's sad that we were taught to put a halt to that and just listen to some almighty government system, if you will, just, you know, say how we're supposed to do things. I will break it to you guys. They're actually not the experts. They're just the controller with a whip in their hand. That's all they are. They're not the experts.
They're just a bunch of bullies.
Yep. And
Mhm.
so if you look at, I mean, look at it. When you guys take these drives out in the country, out in the middle of nowhere, how much land has no house? Has,
Right.
you know, that's, I mean, if you calculate it, there's tons. So we're not overpopulated. Overpopulated would be that wherever you go, you see houses everywhere, you see apartments everywhere, you see skyscrapers everywhere. What's that Star Wars planet, Coruscant? That's a city.
Yeah, it was that.
The entire planet's a city, and it looks
Yeah.
overpopulated to me. When we get there, then maybe we can start talking about
Right.
overpopulation.
So if anything, I
I saw
think we
the-
could spread out a little bit and, you know,
Yeah.
have some acreage that
You
if people
know-
took care of the earth, then it would be okay to move into some of these forested areas, some of these other, you know, BLM areas. And it's about taking care of the land and taking care of yourself and becoming a symbiotic relationship rather than this pig that, you know, is trashing things and, you know, like the for instance, the masks and the plastic and the crap that's washing up into our oceans.
They actually invented all that to hurt our planet. The plastic is actually a wonderful invention in some areas, but at the end of the day, it's really not our friend. I
Right.
actually prefer that we actually have glass.
Yeah,
know it's-
glass is really good.
But I know it's
You know what?
breakable, and I know,
They
but we have the technology, and I grew up with it with my grandma. She had actually glass cups that were really thick glass. It doesn't break as easily as you think it does.
Right.
So, but they taught us, no, don't have glass. I remember when growing up, I was in oh gosh, 7, 8, or 9. I remember them saying stuff like, "No, we're gonna use plastic. You know, glass breaks and hurts kids and things like that. If anybody's ever heard of that, and so let's switch to plastic. Let's give kids plastic cups, plastic plates, and things like that." And you notice that even in the hospitals, it's plastic. It's all kinds of other materials. What do? They use it once, they throw it away. Where's it
Right.
go? You know.
Exactly.
Everything is just constant about waste. The waste of food, waste of, you know, material, waste of resources, and it's hurting the planet. So they're telling us that we're hurting the planet by making babies. We're hurting the planet by doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah, they're actually hurting the planet by teaching us to waste.
Anyone else realize, like, when we were dealing with this whole COVID-19 situation, how much more waste there has been?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I just like when I'm walking home from work, I see masks on the ground and in the
Mask
street,
everywhere,
That's
gloves
disgusting.
everywhere. Yeah.
and it's like, and one of my friends went and they're like, "Where are the hazardous waste drop sites?"
Well, or if you see garbage, pick it up. Shit. I mean, my
Yeah.
kids and I have gone to like Lake Mead, for instance. I like to call it Lake Moapa. That's her original name. But, you know, over by Las Vegas, when we would visit, you go to the shore and there's just shit everywhere. So, you know, pick it up. If you got to bring your own set of gloves, pick them up and then put those in the garbage too, if you think it's gross or whatever. But I mean, you know, take care of things. That's going back to, you know, taking care of yourself.
I actually kind of disagree with gloves because I think using a grappler would be better because
that
those
would
can
be.
be reused.
Right. I do. You know, I do like that. I do like that. Well, and
Yeah.
it looks like here, Patrick, he's made another comment. He says he just found out recently that there's a loophole that banks can't own property, which makes sense, which means also those foreclosed houses out there are unowned. And I have lived in one of those before. The bank took it back, which was stupid since they don't own it. And then, you know, there's got to be some way that people can do something about that. That's true. That's true. So I'm wondering, there's got to be something that could be discovered or whatever that loophole would be, because there are so many homes that are just rotting with nobody in them that the bank is holding on to, but they don't legally own that.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we have to look for loopholes, which is another thing that's aggravating. We shouldn't be in a situation where we need to look for loopholes to get something done.
Right.
but that's, they designed everything like that for the frustration. I mean, it doesn't make sense that all kinds of office buildings, all kinds of other types of buildings and homes that have literally just been sitting there all the while they're building new houses, new buildings everywhere else. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. Yeah, it's just
And
that
they had designed
overpopulation
it
of cramming people together and making money is all it is.
Yeah, and it doesn't make any sense to where they stand there and said, well, we're making more money just having it empty, and how are you doing that, and rather just than they taught us that, crashing it and rebuilding it, and they put all kinds of fees to it to make it very hard for you to just, reuse that property if you wanted to. And I'm talking about even condemned properties.
What about rehabbing properties that still have a great foundation?
Yeah.
We got so many disabled vets that are homeless. Yeah. We have so many people that are just homeless in general. Why don't we just rehab these damn homes?
They put a lot of red tape to it. That's why. Right, they made it unfun for us to do these things. Otherwise, it would have been done already. We wouldn't see a lot of boarded up homes if it was actually an easy thing to do. Yeah. Just a little bit of paperwork and bam, you're done. And no, it's not that. It's, and I'm tired of the whole thing about paperwork as well. I understand you need maybe a form to fill out because, of a situation, but really at the end of the day, we shouldn't really need paperwork to get things done. Right. Like that's another program thing.
Or just a simple contract, hey, I want this property. It's available. Can I have it? Okay, great. Let's fix it. Hey, you need a home? Great. Here you go.
Yeah. A long time ago, it used to be asking somebody, and that was enough. Talking to somebody was enough,
Right.
You can't do that.
There was a time where you barely had to deal with the government whatsoever. The only time you had to deal with them was just mainly just to change a postal address in some cases, or to change some other paperwork. But besides that, you did everything by yourself. So in many places, there was no police. That's why you had that right to bear arms. You could protect your home. You had that you could do whatever you wanted in that thing. You didn't need a license for, say, farming, or a license for ranching, or a license for
how about opening a restaurant? It is a load of heck to open up a restaurant.
Wow.
And then keeping one.
Yeah, true. In these days.
Oh, you need all the freaking. Have you ever seen?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen? I totally agree, Sue. Because if you go to a corner of a restaurant, there are so many licenses and so many paperwork you need. It's like a wall of shame almost if you look at it.
Right.
We got our safe. Everybody's safe serve. Everyone knows how to deal with their
and
dairy.
And they had to stoop low enough. Yeah, they had to stoop low enough to do it the lemonade stands now.
Oh God.
Yeah, they're doing with lemonade stands.
What the hell?
We used to just set up lemonade stands when I was a kid.
Right.
You just need the ingredients. That's it.
The funny thing is that and sad actually is that there are actually states that prohibit the collection of rain.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Which is ridiculous.
That's what I mean. There's too many laws, too much control. It is ridiculous. Rain is free. I mean, that's what they want. Anything that's considered free, they're going to charge. I mean, that's why I did the a joke a while back where if you went back in Jesus' time and said, hey, you know what? In the future, they're going to charge for dirt, air, and water. They would all think you're crazy. Where are we now? We're being charged for dirt, air, and water.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds silly, doesn't it?
It's ridiculously silly. Oh, man.
But it's true. It's true.
And it's not understanding the fact that we have a creator, that has looked after us for eons. And that that we had this connection. They constantly cut off a connection. Think our connection needs to be the government system instead of with our creator, with God, whatever you want to call it. There was a joke on that where it actually says that there was a bunch of scientists that went up to God and said, "We're very advanced right now. We don't need you anymore." And God said, how about this? We'll have a people making contest. If you can make people better than me, I'll get lost. And so the scientists were like, okay. So they bent down and they grabbed a handful of dirt. And God said, get your own dirt. So, you know, obviously we still need what the Creator has created. So, you know, it's best to use what He's given us. We don't need the man-made stuff as much as you think we do.
Right. And I mean, you know, some of it is nice. It helps us to be, you know, have the tools that we need. But, you know, using our own intuition to know, you know, what is it? How can it be used the most? And how can we keep using those things? And if we just make things to where they don't break so much anymore and they're actually quality items, I mean, crap, you know, we could do so much more on this planet without harming her.
Yeah. We used to make things for ourselves. A lot of people used to make things for themselves.
You know, you mentioned
now they say you have to have a license to do it.
Oh, which is ridiculous. Yeah.
You know, you mentioned. Now you guys mentioned about religion and science,
right?
And so one of the things that I really conversation I had the other day was the concept of scientism.
Oh yeah.
And for people who aren't familiar with what scientism is, right? Scientism is when you believe in science only. And it's not in we can experiment. No, scientism means that we're going to absolutely believe it. You can't question it. The science is settled, if you will. You've probably heard that. The science is settled. Science.
Yeah, that's why they done.
If we actually want to go by scientific progress,
it's science. Yeah.
You know, let me just tell you one thing about science. Science is ever changing.
Yeah.
It does not stay in one place.
Right.
What will be true today may be different tomorrow. It's not. There's no science that is 100% settled. Even physics isn't unsettled, and that was that was a subject that for a while didn't really have too many developments. But here we are. You know,
is there anything that's actually settled? I don't really think there's anything that's settled.
No, I mean, God, now we're going into
nothing
like
is settled.
Quantum mechanics, quantum physics, metaphysics.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things that are unexplained yet.
Not even tradition. Not even tradition. Family generationism is settled.
Right. Oh man, it's true.
I don't think there's anything that officially is settled, because to say something is settled means that there is no change. And last time I checked, things are always changing. You know.
Yeah. So I've got a challenge for you guys. Email me if you can actually list some things that do not change, that cannot change, that's completely settled. I welcome an email. You guys can let me know that. It'll be in the, in the link.
Absolutely.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to disqualify a few things if we're going to say that. If you're going to say that there's only three types, if you're going to go like there's only three types of rocks, igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic, then no, that's not what we meant when we said that. We're saying actual processes, not just objects of the processing. I don't know.
Look at you go, Alex.
He's got that brain. We love it. Yeah. That's why we love him.
Yeah, but all those things can actually change. I can throw it in a water tumbler. Oh, wait.
Yeah, it's fascinating what the scientists are finding out these days. Well, and with what Mr. what Trump's been talking about, or what is it, the 180 days, I guess it's less now in disclosure. I'm excited because we have so much research that's been done. I mean, for those of us that have been doing a lot of the research, we're at least 1,200 years advanced now than we are on this planet. We've got the access to that technology to understand how things work better. There's replicators that can make the things that we need.
Yeah, so by Amazon.
Right?
Yeah. Buy Amazon as soon as those things comes out. Because if you can just replicate your own chairs, your blanket, and your clothes, what do you need them for?
And if you got to recycle, Throw it in.
Just throw it back in. It's the same thing. We are actually more advanced than we've been led on, and you know it's been held back. You know, just to control us.
Did I mention that we say 1,200 years, but we don't even understand. Apparently, we don't understand how moon cycles work.
Yeah.
Right.
It's or at least the concept of a calendar, because the calendar itself has been subverted. I don't know why I thought that thought came to mind, but that was the first thing that came to mind when I heard years.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing, and people talk about that. You know, I was trying to offer some water from a friend, and she left the water at my house, and came back, and it was actually bottled water, and I just kind of left it in her place, and she came back like a day later to get it, and I said, "Here, you can have it," and she's like, "Yeah, but I just drank that yesterday. It's old water," and said, 22-year-old billion dinosaur piss. There's no such thing as new water.
I love it. I love it.
I mean, so.
Well, and Patrick's right. We have the Star Trek level tech that's in repression right now. We are in that age. It's just bringing all that technology out.
Yeah, because if you bought that out, then all the markets that have been making money up their A-word, the wazoo, is going to go. You know, that's the control.
Right.
You know, in other words, we don't need you anymore. We never did.
We never did. That's true. Yeah. We never did.
It's the same thing with the medical. I mean, can you imagine if you could just do a couple of scans and they could actually tell you everything that's out of balance? And it's the same thing. Everything has to do with vibration. We weren't taught that. How many people know that everything has to do with vibration and frequency? And once you get into that, then everything about how we live, how we do things, and how it changes.
And it's because they don't want out the technology out, just like Richard says here. You know, they don't want that technology out because, one, we'll be able to free ourselves from this corporate indoctrination, from being able to live the lives that we want and actually living our passions and living our dreams and being able to be just creative and raising our families and enjoying life.
Yeah, rather than being stressed out with, you know, constantly counting the change that's between your couch cushion to make the next utility bill.
Right.
You know, yeah, kind of sucks to do that, doesn't it?
It does.
And
it does.
but that's how they want you to live.
Penny pigeon.
You know, it'd be nice if we didn't have to. What would happen if you didn't have to worry about where the next meal's going to come? You didn't have to worry about how to pay for this, how to deal with that. How much freedom would you have if you only had to work? I mean, just imagine, even if you only had to work a job, but it's maybe 4 hours a day. There has been experiments where they had jobs where they work about 3 to 4 hours a day, and then the rest of the time is yours. You could afford to do that. Imagine what you could do if you had that much time on your hands.
Mm-hmm. Well, Richard is saying frequency healing is far better for us. Yes, which is when we were able to do those things we love and not have to worry about our basic necessities and our life cycle being taken from us because someone else is providing that. And we think that we have to latch onto that. It's really raising our frequency. Yeah. And getting out of those stress states and being able to, you know, if we need to meditate or ground or exercise, whatever we need to do with that yin yang cycle, just naturally being able to flow is so much healthier. And they know that. That's why they keep us from that.
For a little while during the COVID lockdown, we all got a chance to feel that until the reality of the lack of money and the bills started settling in. But in that period, when we were all first locked down, we had a lot of time on our hands. What did you do with that time? You know, so that was a small taste of what it would feel like before the bills set in. So what if the reality of the bills never set in and you still had that kind of space, that kind of time? Now, how would that feel if you had that, you know, all year without having to stress, you know, about rent, without having to stress about car payments, without having to stress about mortgage, without having to stress where the money's going to come from food, how to keep the lights on, the heat, the air conditioner, anything in the medical. What if you didn't have to stress all that and you had all that time in your hands? What would you do with your life?
And access to med beds, just like
Yeah.
what Richard's saying here, med beds with the photon
Yeah.
light healing. There's so many modalities that we can use that are available right now. I mean, word on the street with disclosure people, whistleblowers, supposedly hospitals have med beds in them. Well, bring those fuckers out and let people use them. God,
Yeah.
it's not just for the elite people.
There are certain
and
hospitals
Patrick,
that have them. Yeah.
right. Patrick here is saying one big help to raise frequency and healing is change out power lines for, power for the natural frequency, the planet 432 hertz rather than the disharmonic 440 hertz. Right.
Yeah.
That's true. Like Tesla tech. Absolutely. We could recycle all the copper from those
Oh,
lines.
I love talking about Tesla tech.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Heck
love
yeah,
talking
And
about
don't forget,
Tesla
when you
tech.
go to
That's my
bed,
favorite.
unplug the Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Unplug your Wi-Fi when you go to bed. There's little things that you can do to make it better. Have the organized in pyramids and things near the technology and stuff like that. Yeah.
Plasma tech too is another one that it's something that I've been experimenting with kind of like orgonite. I call it ganzanite, but you've got Kesh technology where you make plasma out of simple things. Like this one is a copper plasma, so it's made out of a copper coil that has been nano coated. I fire coat it. You can do caustic coating, which would be like some sort of an acid. And then I also, we've got the magnets, we've got coils, we've got stones. And from what I've looked at with med beds, that's a combination of those things. And there's many different types of those healing modalities, because just the plasma tech itself with these, they go 33 feet. It's pretty amazing what the plasma can do. And you can make it in your home. It's so simple with salt water and your coils and a battery, connecting those things together. It's really cool how easy it is for us to make that kind of technology to help to basically change the frequency of like your cell phone, like the Covfefe does. It's, there's so many different options that we can use to help make that dirty energy that would more normally harm us just a little bit safer, or even change it altogether.
Fefe all the way.
It's awesome.
Fefe, that's a whole nother. That's like next level. I mean, not next level when you talk about the advanced tech, but next level in the. Oh my gosh, there is such. The amount of next level stuff is just. Well, let me just explain one of these things that are locked in this thing called the United States Patent Office. This is an actual patent. You can look it up. It's called the walks through walls technology. This is pretty cool when you read it. So,
yeah, I want to read it.
Chakras, right? You know how when you meditate and you have certain frequencies that you can align chakras and energize them and do whatever you need to do whatever you require for those particular chakras. There are certain things you can do with them if they are properly attuned. Well, this particular thing is an apparatus you can actually wear. Okay, you can actually wear it, and it will actually help you modify your chakras. If you have let's say you have a chakra block, this thing will help you energize those chakras that you're having issues with.
Yeah.
So is it some sort of a light technology again. Or is it a frequency? Oh, what's that?
What's that?
It gets them spinning again, lines them back up and things like that, and kind of get rid of the blockage. Yeah.
Well, what happens is that it almost gives you superhuman abilities. So, for example, one of the things that is said in this patent is that you can actually phase through matter with your chakras aligned in a certain manner.
It sounds like looking glass technology, or the operation, what was it? I know paper clip into like the Montauk project. the
Pegasus.
portals. I'm wondering, do you think it ties into that?
I would
Kinda
assume
sounds like
so.
Yeah.
I would assume so because it didn't sound like anything I've ever heard when it came to Tesla tech. Because Tesla tech was all about dealing with the natural forces of the universe rather than subverting it through artificial means.
Yeah, that's why he was big on frequency.
Frequency.
Right.
Yep. 3, 6, and 9.
Such
Yeah,
a huge key.
right under the
Frequency.
SSP as well. I mean, it was all tied together with it. You know,
Hmm?
the tech that
Right.
you were mentioning, Amária, I mean, there was a lot of organizations that had their paws in, and it came from the discovery of that. It's just that we're not really allowed to know about it, and it is coming out slowly. The existence.
Which is
So yeah,
awesome. And, it makes me wonder, but what is it? By June should be the end of that 6-month period that Trump had asked for with disclosure of our space programs, the space tech, the technology. I'm wondering if they're going to do like a huge chunk, or if it's going to be kind of like, disclosure has been with the CIA docs and the other documents, if it's just going to be kind of dumped into a thing and like, okay, have fun, everybody sift through it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. By the way, if you're going to look through the patents, the patent number is US 200 2006 001 4125A1. So one more time, US 200 600 14125A1, and it's patented as the Walking Through Walls training system.
That's really cool. Thank you.
And it was supposedly
Sounds like
invented
fun.
in.
I know.
It actually was abandoned.
Imagine for all of those people who got their keys locked in the car or in the house.
Right. Do you know what this reminds me of? Have you guys seen the movie Men Who Stare at Goats?
Yeah.
About the Stargate program?
Uh-huh.
Towards the end of the movie, it shows like the guy, because throughout the movie, like he runs to the wall and he's like, and he falls down. But the end, it shows him running and he goes through the movie and then they go to credits. So I'm wondering if that was kind of that little snippet going, hey, look what we can do. And I know that whole movie was kind of, shifted and there's things that are out of context. But the basic message is there, what we can do with time travel, with portal jumping, with stargates, and walking through walls. I mean, God, if we can change our frequency to match whatever we're doing, we could do anything. Because nothing, I mean, even this cup isn't solid. It holds my drink. But if I were to go to a microscopic level, there would be so much space between all of the atoms that are holding this glass together. So
well, you
really,
should be able to warm our own drinks back up. We actually used to be able to, warm our drinks up and cool it down at will. Once a long time ago.
Frequency.
Long time ago. We've forgotten how to do a lot of things. There's a lot of things that we all used to do, but we've forgotten. And they wanted to make sure it stays forgotten. And now the stuff is being brought to the surface slowly.
No, you know what would happen if, say, 2 atoms or 2 molecules would connect with one another, but they actually physically touched? You know what that would cause, right?
What would that cause?
An atomic explosion.
Atomic bomb.
So is that what they've been working on with CERN? Do you think is how far can we split that atom? How far can we?
Yeah,
make that explosion go, or
I think it was a energy harnessment kind of a thing where they're trying to harness the universe and control it, because one of the things they were doing was creating portals. And what happened a few years ago, I think this was 2019 or 2018, was they were trying to they were in the process of making a much bigger Hadron Collider that was bigger than their original one. And so they ran an experiment, and the explosion was so big that it wasn't actually able to maintain its structure, and it damaged the actual unit that it was in, rendering it useless for years because it takes a long time to actually get the system to run effectively and efficiently. Now,
I thought that some of the stuff that was going on with CERN did affect the Earth.
yes, it actually did. One of the
Time
things
and
that it
space,
affected,
so to speak.
yes, one of the things that actually
Right.
did was, okay, there are two things that actually occurred. One thing was this also had to do with Fukushima as well, when they had the nuclear meltdown. It affected the tilt of the planet. So that's why time was changing and affected how things were running. The second thing, and probably well known, is Mandela effects. That was when Mandela effects started becoming much more well known. You know, I mean, we could talk about the Mr. Rogers one. We could talk about Forrest Gump one. There's a lot of different ones.
Bernstein Bears, yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Well, even there's timelines from my own family that I won't get into because people that would know me, if they haven't seen the change, it's like whoa, because I've mentioned it. But there was a person that I remember distinctly with our family that had attacked a family member. It wasn't a family member of ours, but they had stayed with the family and were kicked out. The sheriff was called. They were, evicted. But now it's like that had never happened, and that person has been friends this whole time. And it's a higher, more positive timeline, which I prefer that. I would hope that person would be the way that my family is saying now. But at the time, I was like, dang, I don't ever want to see that crazy person again. So this is really fascinating concept with these timelines coming together, the bifurcations, negative going one way, positive going one way. And I really feel that we're on that positive timeline of the most positive outcome that we can have that's really where we are right now.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what's happening. That's the reason why the CERN experiment was extremely it wasn't fatally crippled, but it was pretty mortally crippled, was because the only thing that was manifesting were those negative timelines, and the way that we are in the process of ascending, those timelines cannot exist within the universe or within the multiverse or within all known. I don't even know the actual term that we would use, but all things and all times, as long as all things, it cannot exist because those scenarios cannot be created, and that's probably what caused the calamity to occur. Was that it was basically a blowback.
Yeah. It's really fascinating just learning about the different technologies that are being exposed, that are coming out, and where we're headed. I mean, it's exciting. It really is exciting where we are at this point, and being able to come to a central point within ourselves, because we're gonna have there's always a shit show around. There always is. That's just life. When we can just center ourselves from that and step back and just allow natural flow to happen, I think that this bifurcation is going to be a lot easier for us as we, do our inner work, face our inner demons, get off the karmic relationships, the karmic wheels that we've had, and be able to get into basically our own, trying to think of the word, what's the most, our own authenticity, I should say. Being honest, being in integrity, doing the right thing, even when we think nobody's looking, being in service to others, loving ourselves enough to not be just an asshole to our planet or anything else. It's interesting. Patrick asks Amária, would you ever want to join a crew and go back into space again if it was possible? If they're able to restore the abilities that we had in space, because there's things that I remember from military abductions, with cyber technology with portal jumping. I've had a lot of dreams with that, space travel, time travel, or memories or bleed throughs. I don't know, whatever you want to. I'd say, yeah, why not? I mean, we've got the technology that we could go out,
I wouldn't mind being involved in that as long as it's, as long as it's for benevolent purposes and not under, that our boss would under evil thumb, if you will, and for it doing for darkness and dark purposes. No, I wouldn't want to go back. But if it's for good, it's for light, I have zero problems with it.
Well, and changing the system too. I mean, where they not only have been kidnapping little children, but I mean, it starts before the womb. I mean, this technology with Looking Glass, they can know what souls are coming in, which families and which bodies, which bloodlines that they're wanting, and they exploit us. And it's like they have these soul traps where they're taking us and we can't get out, you know, but at the same time we can when we take our sovereignty back, and that's what we're doing. So I think really the space age is taking a turn for the best, because I think it's going to be going from the military abductions and the illegal extraterrestrial abductions to consent. Like, hey, you're really good at this particular job. Would you like to come out in space and help out with this project that we're doing? Or would you like to learn how to use you, because you've got the specific psychic ability that you've been able to develop, or it's just a natural ability that you're able to do anyway. Let's strengthen that and be able to use it in this area. Would you like to do that? I think with consent, absolutely, let's do that. I mean, we've got the ability to go from the Earth to Mars in seconds. So shit, we could be able to say, okay, I just went to Jupiter today. We did a bunch of runs and yada, yada, yada. And now I'm home for dinner. Why not? We've got the tech to do it. Why not?
We have the tech. Well, we have certain personnels here on Earth that actually are doing that. You get into something that looks similar to an elevator and use this key to take you to other places. And I don't know if Mars was one of them. I believe it is. And either way, they go to different places and they work there, and then they come back, back to Earth, and they go to dinner with their family. So, I mean, the tech has existed for a long time. It's only certain personnel are allowed to use it. I'm hoping that in the future that it would just be normal technology, like, some sort of portals or whatever, and that's just normal for all of us to use it. It's just an everyday thing, like a door. We all have doors,
And just being able to control our own door, so that if we want to work with other planetary systems or other races, being able to get out of our own crap and judgment and anger issues, humans can be pretty volatile, but being able to stay centered, being able to work with other races, why not? We can bend space and time to get places.
And, well, that's what they wanted with dividing up race. We need to learn how to be able to handle, and most of us do. I mean, the Earth is not racist, but they tried to lead us into believe it's racist. And so we can get past that hang up right there. Then we have to, I think a lot of us could handle more than the so-called leaders have said that we can handle. So I'm not xenophobic,
Absolutely.
And, I don't know about you, but I mean, I don't really care what race you are, what species you are, as long as you're not an a-hole, we're good. As I said, I don't have a type. If we vibe, we vibe.
And if you can use technology to program people to hate and to be violent towards somebody that doesn't believe the same or look the same, we can also use that technology to change that. We can show, hey, look at these people that have been on this planet for a while. Yes, they're from space. Yes, they look different, but look at their hearts. Learn how to feel, learn how to be intuitive, which we all have those abilities to intuit, to be able to interface. Whether we speak the language or not of those people, we speak the language of the heart. And when we can vibrate at love or above, I mean, we could be able to do so much more than we've been limited on this planet.
Well, I don't even think we need tech for that. I'm just going to give my opinion. I think we just need to turn the tech off when it comes to controlling that and let people judge for themselves who they want. to hang out
Yeah.
with and who they want to be with. It's just sad that tech has been there to persuade our feelings about how things should be rather than we do that ourselves. And it's just my 2
Well,
cents.
and basically the way that I'm explaining it to just elaborate a little bit on it would be because of the mind control and the fear that a lot of, older citizens may have, or people that are programmed to be afraid of certain things, or if they were to see an extraterrestrial or an interdimensional come in front of them, they would freak out. So I think being able to put that on the television first for them to help ease that transition. Some people might need that easement, but we've got the ability to do it. So I agree where you're saying, let's do that full disclosure. We can handle it, because there is a way to do it for those that are asleep, to gently wake them up, and for those that are awake to just say, let's just move forward with this. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a really
By the
cool
way.
discussion, guys. I think it's fun how it's kind of taken its turn for a lot of different areas. What were you getting ready to say, Alex?
By the way, the first ET I meet, I'm going to give them either a big hug or a big handshake. Either or. Take your pick.
I know, right? Let's
absolutely.
be awesome.
You want to come in? Do you want tea, coffee, non-fluoride
Yes.
water?
Come hang out. Teach me what you know. Let me teach you what I know. I think, we can totally be a family with our intergalactic family members, our interdimensionals.
Welcome.
Care to share your life story with me? I bet it's been one heck of a ride.
I know, right? Wouldn't that be so cool? Just to learn.
I remember. Well, I remember you when you were somebody else, and well, I used the intergalactic yellow pages. Not really. Not really. No. That's not actually going to happen. But in a matter, in to make kind of light on it, but it's probably going to be a much more emotional situation. Yeah. Honestly.
I think we're headed in an amazing direction, and I'm really excited where we're going. I'm glad that we are taking back our sovereignty, taking back our freedoms. We are leading the way in our country because of our wonderful, brave patriots that have risked their lives, and many have given their lives to expose the truth and the corruption that's been going on. Just kind of bringing it back full circle, we are doing it. We got this.
Indeed.
So, everyone on here, of course, this has been our first Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Anyone that has any questions or comments, feel free to post those below. C4OC Radio Network, Revelation Radio Las Vegas, or Rev Radio Las Vegas, and our wonderful new Global Enlightenment Network, radio network that's joined us.
First one of this year.
It's amazing. Let's give us your opinion. We love to hear what you have to say. I think it's enriching when we can all get together and discuss things and be able to do it in a way that's positive. There's actually a person earlier that I had to block because they were name calling. So if it's going to go to that level, I'm not going to mess with that. That's bullshit. There's no place for rudeness. There's no place for name calling. We can all disagree on things and do it in a way that's gentle, and we can discuss things. We can agree.
Be more loving,
we can agree to
and
agree.
compassionate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More loving, more compassionate. And so, taking that forward, we've got these radio networks, we've got platforms that we can discuss these things on. So absolutely, we'd love to hear your feedback. If you have any ideas for future shows, we'd love to hear that too. And, I'm actually considering bringing more guests on the show, just like I've done with the GERN Network. I love how Patrick comes on and gives a lot of wonderful information. Maybe let's have him on a show with us on the next show. I think that'd be really cool. He says, good show, everyone. It's been fun, informative, entertaining. I hope that this is the first of many more. And it will be. I absolutely think we should be bringing more people on to have these kind of discussions. I think it helps us all to really sort out what's going on in our unified consciousness as we're waking up and becoming more of a collective consciousness, or I mean, I guess it's all the same words that we're going on over and over, but you know, let's do it. Let's do it. I think that would be really fun to do.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Sue, for coming on, and Alex for joining us with HeartMind Expressions. Alex and Sue, I love you guys, and we will see y'all again.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Absolutely.
Now it's figuring out how to turn it off.